Hello my dear friends and welcome to my channel. Don't forget to make yourself a cup of hot chocolate with marshmallow if you want, because today we have very interesting stories, and one of them is a story about a woman demanded OP give her kittens box and then caused a scene. Please subscribe if you haven't and I hope you'll enjoy it. Characters: EM. Entitled Mother, EK. Entitled Mother's Kid, OP. Me, GF. My girlfriend. Background: I live in a rather quiet apartment building, but as soon as this crazy witch moved here, I knew that my situation was going to go screwed up. I always try my best to be kind to my neighbors, and it wasn't any different for EM. I enjoy having a small get-together in my apartment with a couple of my neighbors, so when EM and her annoying as hell kid moved into the building, I decided to invite them to a weekly Friday adults-only game night. Don't judge, this was all pre-COVID. The party was set to begin at 7 o'clock, but EM came a good hour late. Our parties are adults only because we have lots of alcoholic beverages. EM decides to ignore the clear as day rule that kids aren't allowed, and she decides to bring her little craphead to my house. As soon as I see the kid, I tell her no kids allowed, but then she goes and says it's okay. He has my permission. I sigh and ask her to come back in 10 minutes. Now me and the neighbors have to clear all of the alcohol and pack them in the cupboards. She and her piece of crap come back in 30 minutes and immediately start eating all of my food. I'm a really non-confrontational person, so telling them to stop was a big no-no. This isn't even the real story yet. It's just some background to explain the crap show that is about to happen. The story. COVID happened. GF was staying at my place during COVID because her parents both have pre-existing conditions. We went through the whole process: quarantine, testing, and eventual moving. So one day, I was out of the house getting groceries when GF called me crying and saying she didn't feel safe in our apartment. Apparently, my girlfriend was taking a shower when she heard someone moaning. She thought it was me, and she opened the curtain to see EK, that little screwer, standing outside the open bathroom door. She screamed, slapped him, and kicked him out. Hearing this, I immediately rushed home to comfort her, having absolutely no clue how that little idiot got into my home. As soon as I get home, I see M standing outside my apartment banging on the door, maskless. I tap her on the shoulder and start to explain to her that she really needs to control her kid. I tried to be as nice as possible, even though I was seething with anger. I tried to tell her that I understand his body is going through changes and that he has urges, but breaking into people's houses and doing crap like this wasn't okay at all. Before I can finish, EM goes off at me. She starts screaming that her son didn't break into anyone's house and that GF had no right to hit him. She said she was going to call the cops and tell them that we assaulted that little crap. Even though at this point, I'm literally about to slap her, I try my best to remain calm and ask her how her mistake of a son got into my house. The entitled mother starts screaming at me, and in her anger, she lets it slip that during my neighborly meeting, in the background section, she took one of my apartment's keys. My brain just shuts off. GF comes out hearing the commotion and apparently heard that EM stole my keys. GF goes off. She says she is calling the cops for stealing, breaking and entering, and invasion of privacy. At this point, my brain is still processing what EM just said. EM screams back that in her rental agreement, she was given access to all the amenities of the apartment and she somehow believed that my house belonged to them too. Keep in mind, I own my apartment. GF and I kept strong on her promise and called the cops right then and there. EM got arrested, but I don't know what happened from there. All I know is that I changed my locks, got only 2 new house keys, gave one to GF and kept in, and bought one of those camera doorbell things. How gross. Good on you for calling the cops, that is just not acceptable behavior from anyone. There's something very wrong with that child too. That's super creepy peeping behavior. A few years ago, I worked at a store that dealt in used electronics. It was mostly movies, games, and pop culture merch, but we also sold a wide variety of items like cameras and headphones. It was a very popular store due partly to the low prices and the fact that we generally paid more than our competitors for used goods, but customers also liked the atmosphere. The staff was very close-knit and management encouraged a casual approach to customer service, so not only was it a cool place to shop, it seemed like a cool place to work, which it was. This meant that during all times of the year, we were flooded with applications. We actually had a new apps box behind the counter that had to be emptied for filing once a week because it would fill up. As a retail establishment, we did have a moderate turnover, but the store was small and only had 11 to 15 people employed there at any given time, so we only occasionally picked up new hires. This didn't stop people applying, especially recent graduates who were hoping that the cool video game store could be their first job. I was working the front counter at the time, entitled Mom Walked in the Door. This happened a while ago, so this conversation is of course paraphrased. She approached me, and I smiled and greeted her. "Hi, how can I help you?" "Hi, can I speak to the manager?" "Oh, of course, but he's currently in the office on a call." Is there something I can help you with before he's available?" "My son turned in an application a month ago, and he hasn't heard anything back." "Oh, I'm sorry ma'am. We get a lot of applications, to the point where our employment manager can't call people back if they aren't accepted for an interview. This should be mentioned on the application, but I'm sorry if your son wasn't told that. However, we keep applications on file for 6 months, so if a position opens up, we could still possibly consider him for employment." She huffed and rolled her eyes, giving me a sarcastic laugh. "That's ridiculous. Are you guys prejudiced against hiring boys or something?" I blinked at her. I was one of 2 girls employed at this location, compared to 11 guys. Of the 4 people visible behind the counter, I was the only girl. "Ma'am, I'm one of the only girls that works here." EM seemed to notice this and began to splutter a little because she was getting flustered. She continued laughing sarcastically through her sentences. "So what, are you prejudiced against hiring hard workers?" I honestly didn't know what to say. I was trying not to laugh because it was such a weird response. "No, we just have a lot of applicants and the chances of getting picked are low, it's not personal." But if you'd still like to ask the manager about it, I can go see if he's finished on the phone." "No, never mind, this is just ridiculous. I'm taking my business to competitor." She stomped away. After she left, my coworkers and I just looked at each other and started laughing. We chatted about it for a little while, and when the manager came back from the office, we told him about the encounter. He basically said what I said, that it was one application in a sea of many, and it wasn't personal. Honestly, if you come into a store and demand the manager to hire your kid, it's probably only going to hurt their chances. Nobody wants to deal with someone's crazy parent hovering around the business all the time. Why do I feel like a kid would be the type of person to get fired on their 5th day from making so many mistakes, or that the kid wouldn't really be a hard worker? Little bit of backstory. The story revolves around me, 17F, and my mum, 36F, who I will call EM. EM and my dad went their separate ways when I was very little, they weren't married, and I went to live with my grandparents, dad's side. EM would sometimes spend a few days with us and then go who knows where. Around 2 years ago she left and didn't come back. I see her maybe once a month. In my country we have a website that shows you grades, exams and stuff like that. You have your email and a password. I never gave EM my password because she never asked for it and I didn't think she needs to even see my grades. No one except me has my password. So I was doing my homework and I got a call from EM. That's rare, so I picked it up. This is approximately the conversation. "Hey OP, how are you?" "Good, what about you?" "A little bit tired, but fine." "Good to hear. Do you need anything?" "Well, I just wanted to know how are you and ask you to give me your password to your grades." "What, why?" "I lost the password I had, so can you give me it again?" "What are you talking about? Why do you have my password?" "Well, you typed it in my phone once years ago, and it stayed there. I changed my phone, so I need you to give it again." "No, you will not have my password. That's my permission information, and I don't feel comfortable by you looking at my grades and exams." "Oh come on. It's just grades and besides I am your mum. I have the right to see your grades. It's not that big of a deal." "It is. You can't look at my grades, it's my personal information and I don't want you anywhere near it and besides, you aren't really a good mum to begin with." "Oh, are we going there now?" "Well you shouldn't complain that much, after all, I lived the life you wanted to have." "The life I wanted, are you nuts? I can't believe you would say that to a minor. Do you hear yourself? Are you crazy? Why are you yelling? If it's about your grades this is not about my grades. This is about my private information that you have no right to." You are a bad parent and I am so ashamed to be related to you. I am going to change the password and goodbye. I stopped the call then, and I changed the password right away. This type of conversation is not unusual for her, but she really made me mad. That's all, I just wanted to share my story. She's not your mom. She's your incubator. She was never around for you, yet she wants access to your grades. Sounds skeevy. So I go to a news box, and it is really the first decent console I've ever got, so I take care of it, and my dad, who is a Scottish immigrant, is over and watching me, and my brother since my mom is away visiting her family for Chinese New Year, so I'm basically half Scottish half Asian. And then this event occurs. There is a kid next door who is about 9 and always wants to play video games at my place. He broke all my consoles, so I don't like him near any of my stuff. Just to make it simple, I hate him to the moon and back. So he comes over and I forget to put my console away, and then he sees it. I'm screwed. Oh my god, is that in's box? Can I play? No. Why? You broke my other things and you always get mad when I win, so no. I'm telling on you. Go ahead, your mom can't do anything since at my place and she owns nothing here. So he goes home and comes back with his mom, who enters without even asking, and I thought his mom would be reasonable, but instead she demands her son gets to use my things. You have to let my son play, he is your guest, and he has every right to use your stuff. At this point I didn't know what to do, so I let him play for 30 minutes, and the mother would watch, but he played over the time. He ended up playing until 8 p.m, so I go and get them to leave, and then this crazy woman asks this. My son enjoyed his time. Okay. And since my son gets good grades, can you give him it? What are you thinking? No, leave now, your son doesn't even go to school. How dare you be rude, you have to give my son your console as compensation for insulting his intelligence. Leave, I'm not giving you anything. We shouldn't watch your kid for you, and don't send him here, he damages my stuff. And you never paid for it, now you demand my games. My dad heard it and woke up from his nap and came over to see what was happening and saw that EM was trying to take my box from me. My dad grabbed it and put it back. What are you doing in my house? Get out, your little crap stole my son's box. It's true, he did. What do you mean? I bought this for my son, and I also bought him several other consoles for his brothers, and you, points at EK, broke all of them, and you still think we are just going to give it to you for free. You should, after all, EK has got good behavior, and your son is a selfish teenager. Your son doesn't even go to school. Get out of my house now, and don't send your son here to play games anymore. Buy him one, if he's so good. Fine, then I'll buy it from you for $30. What the hell? A console like that costs $400, there is no way I'm giving it to you that cheap. I've seen cheaper ones, so give it to my son, he's been a good boy. I'll give the money to you tomorrow, Dad. Nice try, get out of here, and bring your little idiot with you. I wasn't born yesterday. EM leaves and slams our glass storm door, which shatters, and I could tell from the look on my dad's face, EM was screwed. We called police, and they came immediately. EM tried saying her son threw a rock, but that didn't really help her case, and within seconds of trying to crap her way out of the situation, EM was cuffed, and EK was sent home. EK's dad came out, but was surprisingly not crazy like his wife. He apologized and paid for the door, and the damage EK has done to my game systems. He even gave me $30 to buy a video game, and he also said EK would not be allowed to our house again, which sent the little crap into a flying rage, and EK's not entitled dad dragged him home. They moved away, and a new family moved in. We have even better neighbors now, even better. The kid was my age, and we are best friends. I love how almost every story is an entitled mom, but only a few dads, and in the end, the dad is the good person. Thanks for sharing this story. Hello guys, I've got yet another story from the time I dated my ex-girlfriend. It's yet another story that involves her crazy entitled mother. You know, the one who told me to give her my car and kicked me out of the house and threw a glass bottle at me. This one happened about 2 or 3 weeks after we started dating, when my ex wanted me to get to know her mother. Partly because she wanted us to meet, and partly because her mother didn't believe that I actually exist. But now, without further ado, let's get to the cast. Entitled Mum, my ex-girlfriend's mother. Ex. My ex-girlfriend. Me. Big idiot who should have ended the relationship right after this story. So, me and EX drove to the house where EX and her family lived at the time. We went upstairs, EX looked for her mum while I took a seat on the couch. After a couple of minutes, EM entered the living room without EX and saw me. She started yelling, "Who the hell are you and why are you sitting in my living room?" Before I could answer, EX showed up and explained to EM who I am and why I sit on her couch. EM's reaction was, "Oh, so he isn't made up after all." EX looked very embarrassed while EM walked in front of me and started to inspect me. After that, the following dialogue happened. "I married last week." "Well, that's nice. Congratulations. Do you know why I told you that?" "No, I don't." "Why did you?" "I took my husband's last name. My ancestors were aristocrats, part of a very noble society in the old Holy Roman Empire of the German nation, basically the Middle Ages version of Germany. You have to take my daughter's last name when you marry her, so the name gets carried on. I've been dating your daughter for 3 weeks now. I don't even know if or when I will marry her, and I certainly do not know if I will take her last name or not. So you don't want to marry her? Why are you even here, then?" "Mum, calm down, we've known each other for about a year now, and we just started dating. I don't know if I want to marry him, he doesn't know if he wants to marry me. That's normal. You might think that is normal, yeah. But you're dating, so you love each other. I guess that should be enough to get married." "Oh, like you and Dad. Getting married at 19, having a child and getting divorced 3 years later. Yeah, I'm sure that's the ideal way. Don't dare to use your father against me. You know he is an idiot who isn't capable of raising a child, so I had to leave him. I don't know if he is capable of that or not because you don't allow me to meet him. Looking at me, come on, let's go. This whole thing was a stupid idea. Fine, run from your problems. I know your father, it's better for you not to meet him." EX shook her head and we left. So that's the first impression I got from my EX mother. As always, I'm not a native speaker, so I'm sorry for mistakes. If you find any, please point them out so I can correct them and learn from them. My EX family was basically an infinite supply of EP stories. There is an old saying, before you buy the calf, inspect the cow. This story truly demonstrates why. Well guys, that's it for today. If you end up enjoying this video, please consider subscribing, and if you missed the last episode on the channel, I'm gonna link it right here. The story is about a woman who turned crazy mode on when Op nearly hit her with his bike. Check this out if you haven't, and I'll see you in my next video.